So something very delicious, I would argue.
Oh yeah.
Was going on after chapter 987 dropped, where because of the beautiful shot of Kaido under the moonlight, and you have the Red Scabbards, they're there too, and it's a very nice looking shot. Because of this shot, I saw on Twitter, like the day after the chapter dropped, officially of course, what if Kaido, in a way to counter the Mink Sulong transformation, destroyed the moon? Oh my god. Now, I was talking to Zoro Fanboy, JD, Dritz, I think Eric as well, Red Force Podcast. We were talking on one of Zoro Fanboy's streams. And honestly, I'll be with you guys. I'm not against it. I am not against, at all, Kaido destroying the moon. The primary reason, of course, as you can tell based on my avatar, is the return of one lightning god, Enel. Enel coming back into the story is an automatic, and that single chapter is an automatic 10 out of 10 perfect. It doesn't matter what else happens in that chapter. I don't care if Goldie, Roger, and Whitebeard are brought back Edo Tensei style. If Enel comes back down from the moon, from Fairyverse, and is like, hey, yo, what's going on? Automatic 10 out of 10. I don't care if Kawina comes back and then cuts Zoro's head off. I don't care. I don't care if Sanji dies. Okay, wait. Odds are, there's a 99.9999% chance that if Enel were to come back, that chapter was going to be a 10 out of 10 chapter. So if Kaido firing the blast breath at the moon equals, hey, Enel's back,
Yes!
I'm a happy camper. Because Enel coming back, Enel would devastate. Enel would absolutely crush the opposition, whoever the opposition is. If Enel comes back with just a smidge, a sprinkle, just
A little bit spicy.
a little sprinkle of armor hockey, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. People are dying. That being said, if I try, and I'm trying very hard, to push away my NL bias, okay? Could Kaido actually earnestly destroy the moon? The quick answer is no, but let us dive deeper. We're going to assume that the moon in One Piece is not like the moon in, like, for example, Naruto, where the moon is hollow, therefore not really a full-on moon per se. We're going to assume that the moon of One Piece is a regular moon, a regular celestial body. It's not crazy unique in some way. There were ruins on the moon, you see Anna up there, but I'm not going to assume then that the entire moon like is a hollow structure or that kind of sort. No. Number two, let's assume that Kaido's blast breath can actually reach the moon. So based on those two things, let's look at some major destructive feats in the world of One Piece, and then try and upscale or downscale from there depending on how we kind of gauge Kaido's powers and abilities so far. So the first one that comes to mind is Aokiji freezing an entire section of the ocean between islands. And if we use Marineford War as a base of how thick the ice can be, it is essentially iceberg thick. That is a very impressive feat when it comes to Aokiji's ability to affect the environment to that extent, to where again, he can freeze that much ocean between islands. So Aokiji's freeze capability is clearly tremendous. We also see that in the case of Akainu versus Aokiji on Pug Hazard, where you have a volcanic mountain range and then the ocean like permanently on fire on one side, and then you have a frozen mountain range and then glaciers and so on the other side of the ocean. And then we have this lake where like one side is boiling hot and the other side is like freezing cold. You see how, in this case, because there are two counter elements here, they probably offset each other in more ways than one when it comes to what they could accomplish destructively speaking. Though, to be fair, you kind of lean more towards Akainu because Akainu could burn Ace, but Ace could counter Aokiji full on. So it's a bit weird there, but that being said, you can see how much damage it can cause. Again, like the water was like permanently on fire where Akainu was doing this thing. That's kind of nuts. That's kind of crazy. So in going on from there, what's more solid from the standpoint of destructive power is, of course, my boy Enel himself. Enel himself, using Arc Maxim, was able to create the Raigos, and the Raigos are devastating. The first Raigo vaporized the entirety of Angel Island. The second Raigo was going to vaporize all of Skypiea, and it was a much bigger Raigo compared to the first Raigo. And again, it was all casual. So essentially, as long as there's a large number of thunderclouds, Enel could potentially make bigger or more Raigos that could vaporize very large islands like Skypiea. Gecko Moria, when he was in Shadow's Asgard form, he actually split apart with a single punch the island of Thriller Bark, his own ship island. Then we have Luffy with the King Kong gun against Doflamingo. Now that may seem a bit odd, because it didn't necessarily destroy a lot, compared to, let's say, Enel or the Admirals and so on and so forth. But the thing about Luffy and his King Kong gun is that what folks kind of forget is that Luffy broke through Dofi's strings in the process to actually punch Dofi down into the city of Dressrosa, thereby folding the city in and the bedrock underneath the city. Those strings, based on, let's say, the birdcage, those strings could actually stop meteorites and cut them into pieces. Even earlier in the arc, when we see Fujitora bring down the meteorite, and then you have Dofi and you have Law counter the meteorite, Dofi's strings could cut through that meteorite. And these strings, the 16 holy bullets, were Armored Haki enhanced. Luffy could still break those strings. That's kind of nuts. So a lot of times folks misunderstand just how powerful that feat is because they ignore or they forget how he broke through Dofi's strings. That's kind of nuts. The next thing is even more odd. Don Chinjiao in the past, according to legend, split the Ice Sheet continent. The exact Viz Media quote is this: was the legend true then? Did he really split the continent of ice in half with a headbutt? Or so they say. And then the guy responds, a continent of ice? But there are other translations where it's more implied that he did split the entire continent in half. And mind you, what we actually see, we don't see an entire continent being split. We really don't. But it is said and implied. Similar to Don Chinjiao. In the anime, for damn sure, it's not the entire continent. But in the manga, it kind of goes on for an extended amount of time when he does do the headbutt drill on the Ice Sheet continent. So it kind of goes on, as far as I can tell. But what's even more important for Don Chinjiao is the fact that the ice wasn't normal. The ice was like super ice, where fire wouldn't work on it, cannonballs wouldn't work on it. It was a unique ice where that ice was so durable, you need to be able to actually produce a singular point of impact like Don Chinjiao's drill to break that ice. So it's a very odd thing there, but keep in mind that's not normal ice by any measure. But Garp did beat Don Chinjiao, and he said that when he was training, he pulverized 8 mountains in order to train for Don Chinjiao. So that could be some of an equivalent there, but it's up to you, to each their own. And also, when it comes to Don Chinjiao, folks do argue that what we saw in the flashback, which is actually him trolling these random pirates, like these random thieves, where the full-scale attack of Don Chinjiao's prime we didn't actually see at all. And we just saw him doing, because it was so easy for him to do it, was just something more casual to kind of scare those guys. So potentially, what we actually saw in the flashback was not the continent splitter. I've seen folks argue that as well. And then finally, because there are other very impressive destructive feats in the world of One Piece, like let's say Big Mom's Elbaf Spear, let's say Law cutting the mountain range on Punk Hazard, that kind of stuff. But Whitebeard, as clear as day, as clear as crystal.
Clear as crystal!
Whitebeard slash Blackbeard, actually. When Whitebeard and Blackbeard, when they grab the atmosphere in a weird way, and then they tilt the oceans in the surrounding area of Marineford War, that's kind of nuts. That's kind of crazy. One of the results was there are people in other sections that are feeling tremors and quakes because of what was going on. And in Shibuya Archipelago, there was a tidal wave inbound to their location because of what was going on in Marineford War. If you think about it from this standpoint, if you can replace that water with land, how would that work out? Because mind you, that's all water. And so it all reformed, reset. But if it was all land, the scale of the devastation, in theory, would be far greater. Because it would stay that way. So these are, as far as I can remember, the most destructive feats that I've seen in the story in canon. That's all canon manga. And on a side note, there is in the NL story, cover story, a huge lightning discharge on the face of the moon that encompasses a huge portion of the moon. And potentially ancient weapons like Pluton could potentially blow up / damage greatly celestial bodies like the moon. But those details I'll save for another video in the future. I will. And also, there is Zunisha's trunk attack that is very powerful as well. Do note that, honestly. So, how does Kaido's blast breath really stand up to these attacks? It's a very impressive attack. Like, truth be told, it's very impressive. Because when he fires it off, the entire mountaintop is gone. In the anime, when he fires out that attack, it continues on for an extended amount of time. As if, like, if he wanted to, like, if there were 3 or 4 mountains lined up with that one attack, he could have blasted all those mountains in one go. So in the anime, there's far more detail where the attack continues on for a significant amount of time after he destroys the mountaintop. And then you could argue, well, that was not actually a full power blast breath because, number one, he's drunk. So if Kaido had to sober up in order to one-shot Luffy, there is the case here where because he was drunk, that wasn't a full power blast breath, number one. Number two is that maybe he could apply Haki in a particular way to his blast breath. And this is a bit odd because we haven't seen Haki, at least let's say in the terms of, for example, the Admirals. We've never seen a Kainu apply Haki to his Ryusei Kazan or something of that sort. Like, no one's ever noted that he could actually apply Haki to that. The same thing for, let's say, Aokiji's Pheasant Beck, or the same thing, let's say, Kizaru's lasers, even in movies, when he fought against Zephyr Sensei. Zephyr never even notes to a single moment where Kizaru applied Haki to his laser. So whether or not you can actually apply Haki to those type of attacks, I'm not too sure. The only exception so far has been Katakuri. And Katakuri, with his grilled mochi, he actually explodes his arm like a rocket punch, and the Haki sticks to the hand as it flies towards somebody. So the Haki's already applied there. So again, if Kizaru, let's say, do like a black laser, because arm Haki infused, no idea. No idea. So Kaido could maybe do that, but it's going to be an odd thing there. It's like Big Mom applying Haki to her Elbaf Spear. Is that even possible? Like, could you do that to, like, the Elbaf Spear? Because we've seen people like Zoro apply Armored Haki in the end, for example. We've seen Zoro apply Armored Haki to his air cuts. His air cuts were in the past blue. Even in Dressrosa, they were blue. But now they're purplish. So they kind of signify that he's applying Armored Haki to his air cuts. Now, the third thing is that potentially, in Kaido's case, he could have a hybrid form, where his hybrid form, he actually can exert more power, and therefore his blast breath could be even more potent in that hybrid form. And then the fourth thing is that, and it's probably the case, where he actually has an attack stronger than the blast breath. In the anime, we do see Kaido use the blast breath in, like, various ways, like fireballs or that kind of stuff in the anime when he first fought against Luffy. So there's a possibility here where the blast breath is just one of the variations of his fire-based attacks in dragon form, and he could have better versions of that, or in hybrid form, there's a more powerful version of that. So there's options there, obviously. So the blast breath is a pretty good attack. It is, definitely, for sure. It's a very powerful attack. But compared to attacks or feats like Whitebeard and Blackbeard tilting sections of the ocean around Marineford War, or Enel's Raigo, which again would have vaporized the entirety of Skypiea, or Dan Chinjiao, in theory, in legend, splitting a super ice sheet continent. Quote unquote, of course. The blast breath is impressive, but not that impressive. And those feats definitely are not destroying a moon. But again, it's based on the blast breath that we know. At the end of the day, for our conclusion, if the moon isn't weird in some unique way, like a hollow moon, or like the moon is constructed of some kind of weird material, whatever the hell, right? It is safe to say that Kaido is not going to destroy the moon. It is very safe to say that Kaido can't destroy the moon. At most, like maybe, like if Kaido does get frustrated, like he flies up into the sky even higher, like beyond 10 kilometers, like beyond 20 kilometers, like he aims at the moon to say, like, you know, I'm fed up, like I'm pissed off, whatever the hell. He takes aim, he fires at the moon. Maybe a large crater, maybe a part of the moon. If I'm being generous, if I'm being very, very, very generous, maybe a part of the moon. Maybe, but at the end of the day...
But at the end of the day, right?
At the end of the day...
No. No.
Though it would be... I'm not against it. There'd have to be a lot of explaining to do on Oda's part, but I'm not against it. Because it brings... you know, even if he doesn't destroy the moon, like let's say it's a crater, or a part of the moon, like a small part of the moon is destroyed, that would grab Enel's attention regardless. So you know what? Just fire at the moon! Kaido, go for it. Fire at the moon, dog. I don't give a damn. Fire! Because that is gonna get the attention of Yeah.
We're looking for the maniac.
Have you seen this man?
It's the maniac!
And that is something that my soul needs. My soul needs. Enel, please, Oda, make it happen. Please! But let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. Be sure to rate the video. Not that hard to do, because I guarantee you all that you all have a device called Zemasu. You use Zemasu to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, to click on that bell to join the squad. And of course, as always, feel free to, please do, comment in the comment section down below. Peace, and have a nice goddamn day.